Join us right now
Don't
to
blink.
talk some Commanders is our pal Scott Abraham, news director at ABC7. He's a regular at training camp. Hey, Scott.
Good morning, fellas.
So
How are you, buddy?
at training camp, we spent a lot of time talking about Jahan Dotson. Do you notice him being like under heavy scrutiny by the coaching staff?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think he's getting opportunities to prove himself of what his skill set is and what he can do. I feel like he's the type of guy you can move all over the field in terms of formation-wise because he's that Swiss Army knife type player. Could be a good situation for the slot, and I think they want to get some extra looks in Jahan. Certainly he had a down year last year. Had some issues with drops and just mentally didn't seem like he was in it. I sat down with him early in training camp, and he seems like really locked in, really focused. And I'm encouraged that he's going to have a bounce back year.
So what about bringing in Martavis Bryant? And what do you think his role is going to be? What has his role been so far in the few practices since they signed him? And then how much do you expect him to play, he and Dotson, Saturday night?
So, I mean, that signing just goes to show you that there's obviously some question marks with this wide receiver group in terms of the depth that the coaching staff might have. And Martavis Bryant brings a skill set and a body type that is not in that wide receiver group. Mm-hmm. He's 6'4", he's big, he's tall, he can run. But the fact of the matter is, guys, you probably talked about it on your show, he hasn't played an NFL game in 6 years. There's raw talent there, but can he release off the line of scrimmage? Can he beat his guy? Can he get separation? Can he get those jump balls? Yes, there's an opportunity for Martavis to carve a role, carve a niche into this wide receiver group. But again, you go back to the fact, I think he's 32 years old.
Yep.
How much gas does he have left in the tank? But I like the fact that he's a big target, right? He can get those 50-50 balls. He can get those fade patterns. I don't know how much he can, if a cornerback does a, press coverage, jam him at the line of scrimmage, can he get separation and get free? I don't know. But in terms of a fade pattern or a 50-50 ball, I think he has that skill set where they can utilize that. Is that going to be good enough to make the 53? You look at the wide receiver depth right now, McLaurin, Dotson, De'Ami Brown, Luke McCaffrey, then what? So there's a path for Martavis to maybe make this 53 or at least the practice squad.
Scott, just getting back to Jahan a little bit, but others in general. Brian Mitchell, our buddy B. Mitch, said on his show, he and JP, they had noticed some body language issues. He was getting kind of pissed off as an ex-player. And he wasn't singling out Jahan he never said Jahan's name. But I thought he was talking about him, but he never said. Mm-hmm. He said there was a bunch of guys that almost seemed like, I don't know, they don't want to work harder. So I don't know. It was a weird vibe. Do you see any of that?
Yeah, honestly, guys, I'm there pretty much every day, and I have not seen that. Okay. I have not obviously seen that the body language type. Certainly, there was plenty of woe was me. The culture was low at the end of last year. I mean, it was just it was not a fun environment, a fun practice. But I feel like for the most part, everybody's juiced up and re-energized. And I would be surprised in terms of the body language or the frustration this early on in camp. So I have not seen that personally. But again, I think Jahan understands that he is a fresh slate, right? This is all new for everybody. They're getting to know Jahan. Jahan's getting to know the coaching staff. He may be forced into a role that maybe he wasn't envisioning coming in. But I think he's a pro, and I think he's going to do the best he can. And I know this for a fact. He loves Jaden Daniels, and they have a really good rapport off the field. They both speak highly of each other, and they've had some really strong connections, some good, completions during training camp practices. So I think that could be a young kind of duo to watch along with McLaurin and De'Ami and whoever else.
All right, give us your best guess as to the plan at quarterback. So prior to them signing Trace, who we all like because Jason's close with the family and we root for, I was under the impression that Hartman, they were going to find a way to stash him on practice squad or something. I think they gave him like a $250,000 signing bonus, which is a lot of money for an undrafted free agent. I thought he showed well in the first game. And then I don't know what they're doing with Driscoll. He looks pretty good too. I like him. Are they going to keep 3 up and then have 1 on the practice squad? Like when this is all said and done, how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're going to keep 3 up. I don't. And I think most teams tend to like to go with the 2 quarterback situation and then use an extra roster spot for something of need that maybe they could use on special teams or whatnot. But I know they like Sam Hartman. It's unfortunate he has a shoulder injury right now. So between Driscoll and Hartman, I would lend toward the fact that they may lean towards Sam Hartman just because you mentioned they gave him a pretty good chunk of change as an undrafted rookie free agent. But again, we don't know the severity of the shoulder injury. So, and in terms of kind of playing time on Saturday for the preseason game, I'd expect Jaden Daniels to get a few more drives. Definitely, more than 1. Obviously, he showed out that first drive, but I can't see him going more than. Could he play the first half? Yeah, I think that's a possibility. But if he puts together back-to-back scoring drives like he did against the Jets and here against Miami, then I don't think there's any need to continue to play him if he has back-to-back scoring drives and scoring out of his first 3 drives in an NFL preseason action. So I think he would be done. But I think you're going to see a lot of Driscoll and obviously McSorley, and they're going to be smart, especially with the offensive line issues that, we've talked about at length with the injuries and the offensive tackles and the moving of the pieces. So they got to be smart. You're not going to win football games in August. You want to be ready to make sure you're ready to go in September.
So let's just say they played Jaden for the first quarter, especially if they start pulling linemen, and then you're putting backups in. So what are you thinking? Driscoll for the second quarter and third quarter, and then Trace fourth quarter?
Yep. I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. Obviously, McSorley is so unfortunately raw in a sense of the playbook and the plays. It'll be so vanilla for Trace, but he has that initial foundation of running an offense. So he'll probably get to run in the fourth quarter. But I would say Jaden, quarter and a half, maybe a first half if things kind of struggle a little bit out there, and then obviously Driscoll will take over. But it's another opportunity for the Commanders to kind of show what they have. And that joint practice against the Jets was just a slop fest, and that I don't think it was very productive for anybody. I'm excited to see what happens today. I know it's good weather down there in Miami, so it should be some good work for them going into Saturday.
When does that start? Do you know, the joint practice?
Yeah, 10:15, so about an hour. So 10:15 they get going.
Gotcha.
And it'll be good to go hit up against another team because obviously Miami has a lot of skilled players, and I'll be curious to see if Tyreek and Tua play on Saturday because that'll be a good test for that secondary. And I have concerns with those outside corners, and I'm sure you guys do in terms of Emmanuel Forbes and Brian Davis and Benjamin St. Juste. There's a lot of good wide receivers in this league, especially in the NFC East with Antonio Brown, CeeDee Lamb. So they're going to be strong up the middle, up in that box, that defensive line, those linebackers. But, that secondary, they have strong safeties. Sanders still is going to be a stud, but the outside corners, I'm concerned, guys.
Mm-hmm.
What about Jamin? What have you seen from Jamin? He's been the project that I've been hoping that they would focus on, and he made some plays in that last one. What do you expect to see from him?
Yeah, he's building, right? He's building. Like it's been good to see him embracing this new role and a new opportunity because he understands this is probably it in Washington. If he doesn't produce this year, he's going to be going to another team. And he's shown flashes during the preseason game against the Jets, and you watch him in training camp. You watch the reps. He's taking to the coaching. He's kind of being like that sponge of being in this new role, and I think there's a role for him in what they want him to do, because they need some edge rushers, they need some guys to get to the quarterback, and Cleveland Farrell and Dorrance Armstrong, Jamin, those are going to be the guys that are going to be tasked with putting the pressure on the quarterback. They don't have the Chase Young, they don't have the Montez Sweat. They got to get to the quarterback, especially with maybe a potentially weak secondary. They got to make the quarterback uneasy and unhappy back there.
By the way, real quick, is there a way, because you're not in Miami, right? Is there a way you or us, the fans, can watch the practice today?
So sometimes the host team, I know the Jets had a live stream on their social media platforms. I don't know if Miami's going to do the same, but a lot of the teams that host have like their live streams up of practice in terms of what's going on. They have some talent in front of the camera, and then they pan off and just show some live video of the practice. So I would check out the Dolphins social media platforms for any live feed. We're getting some help from our ABC affiliate in Miami, so we'll have that tonight on ABC 7. But to watch it live, I would probably the best case would be going toward the.
Yeah. There's no indication at this point, like on their YouTube or anything, but we'll keep checking.
Scott,
that's what I would say.
In terms of the RBs with Brian Robinson, obviously Eckler and Rodriguez, we'll see a lot of Rodriguez, I'm sure. But how do you think they've looked, especially Eckler? Because I think that I think he's going to have a pretty good year if he can stay healthy. And how much do you expect those guys to play? Maybe a little bit more on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think they'll play, certainly. I think everybody's going to play as the first team unit, the first team offense is going to play as much as Jaden plays. That's my expectation. Once Jaden goes out, I think that's when they'll start to filter in the backups and the secondary roles. And I'm excited about this tandem. Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler. I know you guys play fantasy football. I know a lot of my buddies play fantasy football, and they all ask me because they know I cover the Commanders on a daily basis. Who's the one guy you'd want to have in fantasy football this year from the Commanders? And I tell them Brian Robinson Jr. I think he is going to be utilized. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to get the carries in the red zone and the goal line carries. And I think he is just poised for a breakout year because remember, rookie year, he was shot. Attempted robbery attempt. That set him back, worked his way back mentally and physically his second year. This is the year I think, finally they're going to understand what they have in Brian Robinson Jr., Cliff Kingsbury understands, and then you supplement that with an Austin Eckler who can do it all in terms of catching the ball in the backfield, lining up in the slot. He's a touchdown machine himself. So I think, especially with the rookie quarterback guys, Cliff is going to rely heavily on this running game, establish your running game, make the defense respect the run, and that'll make a lot of things easier for Jaden in the pass and make him more comfortable in the pocket.
Well, Cakes isn't here, but he'd be happy because I have a bet that Eckler is going to end up the season with more carries than Brian Robinson. Cakes is on the Brian Robinson side.
No, I would go B-Rob. I do. Yep.
Now I got to root for an injury.
I don't root for that. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how Jaden plays, and certainly with more time, if he plays a half, because after throwing 3 passes, people are going crazy because of the.
I know. I know. Everybody's anointing him, and it's encouraging. That's the word I've been using on our television programs, and talking to my buddies. Like everything's encouraging. Everything's on track. He can read a defense. He can check. I mean, that was great to see. And let's see him take another step. Let's see him keep building off this and stay healthy in the process. Again, I talked to, my buddy Ben Standig, obviously a friend of the program, and does a great job for The Athletic. And he brought up the point. He thinks success could look like if this team wins 6 games, but Jaden Daniels has a strong year, shows progress, shows growth, he would take that. That would be success to him. And I know the fans don't want to hear that because we're such a immediate results-based society now. We want things to happen quickly. And guys, you can't forget, this is still a rebuild, a recalibration, as they like to say. They blew everything up. A lot of new faces, front office, coaching, owner, everything is new. So it's going to take time. I know everybody wants the playoffs right away, 10-win season right away. You got a rookie quarterback who's going to make some mistakes. He's going to grow and develop. And let's just hope in terms of the football gods that finally Washington has figured out this quarterback situation, and he's going to be the guy for many years to come. That's all you can hope for right now.
That's true. What we're hoping for. It'd be a fun ride. Thanks, Scott.
By the way, real quick, Scotty, I know it was a few weeks ago, but it was cool hanging out with you at that Commanders PR event when
yeah, I know. But we had a blast. That was great to see you guys out in the flesh, and I know EB and JP missed it, but it was great catching up with you. And that was just another kind of great thing that the Commanders organized, and just kind of the new leaf they're turning over and embracing the media, building relationships. And I was really happy to see that you guys were invited. A lot of different outlets were invited.
Yeah, it was cool.
So it was great to kind of have a beer with you.
I mean, we talked shop, but we also talked life. And
you talked to DQ?
Yeah.
I talked to Dan Quinn, talked to Adam Peters as well.
Nice.
Yeah, they're really cool dudes.
Yeah, really, really down to earth, and they took time with every reporter and radio personality, TV personality that was there. And it was great to kind of build that foundational relationship. And it's important because you want them to trust you and you want to trust them. And it's a two-way street, and it's a good way to kind of start off the new year. So I thought it was a great idea that the Commanders put that on.
Yeah, very cool.
All
right, buddy. Well,
thank you, pal.
Have a great rest of the week and weekend, man.
All right, guys. You take care.